Hello, class. I wanted to talk to you today about energy flowing through the ecosystems. So we know that ecosystem is all the living and non-living things in an area. And so we first know that energy comes from the sun. All energy comes from the sun, and energy flows through tissues, cells, organisms. And we're going to talk about that as we go through these slides. Animals and plants alike generally need to take in air and water um, and food, and they need light and they need minerals. Plants are the producers. Plant starts with a P, and producer starts with a P, so we know that plants are producers. Plants convert the energy from the sun into organic matter through the process of what's called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a chemical reaction in which we change light into energy. All right, here's a little picture of what happens. We start with the energy from the sun, and the plant receives that energy and it changes it into food for itself. We cannot do that. Animals do not have photosynthesis, only the plants do. So now we talk about eaters. Who is eating things? A consumer is an eater. A consumer cannot make his own food, so a consumer must have a way to get food. Most consumers have a way to move, as in walk or somehow move to the location of their food. Plants can stay in one place and produce food just by the sun. Consumers need to move to eat. There are three types of consumers. There is a herbivore, which only eats plants, a carnivore, which only eats meat, and an omnivore, which eats both plants and meat. You can tell the difference by the shape of the teeth of an animal. An herbivore is going to have flat teeth to grind the plant material. Here you have herbs that you might have around the house. We like cilantro with some of our Mexican meals. We like basil in some of our Italian meals, and so on. We like sage in our sausage. And then after things die, they decompose. And so we have some organisms that help things decompose, like fungus and bacteria. So here we go. Producers are the green organisms that produce food. Consumers are anything that has a mouth that can eat each other or eat other organisms or eat plants. A decomposer is sometimes very small, like microscopic fungus and bacteria, or it could be a mushroom that helps break down the organic matter. A food chain is simply a way to show how the energy moves through organisms. So this is a very simple food chain. We have the plants producing the energy. The insect is the herbivore, the first consumer eating the plant. The mouse is an omnivore. The mouse can eat plants or insects. But as a consumer, because the mouse has a plant. The mouse has a mouth. And then there's an owl who is a carnivore. He only eats other animals, and he is a consumer also. Here are two types of food chains, one land food chain and one a water food chain. So we have a plant going to cricket, same idea that it showed you. This one also has a carnivore of a snake eating the mouse. If you look closely, you can see there's a little cricket on the plant, and then the mouse is eating the cricket, and the snake is eating the mouse, and then the bird is eating the snake or going to eat the snake. Here we have a food chain in the water. We have phytoplankton, which is a real thing, and the plankton are eaten by the fish. These are little dots for the plankton. This fish is actually right there and eaten by a bigger fish, and this fish is actually right there eaten by a larger fish. So plankton are the primary food source at the bottom of the food chain in the ocean or the pond. All right, here's another food chain here where we have larger fish eating smaller fish and so forth. Now, this is a better example of what really happens in real life out in the ecosystem. This is called a food web because unlike the other diagram where it just shows you the bird eats the mouse. Well, birds don't only eat mice, they eat other things also. So here is a diagram of who eats who and where's the energy going. All right, wish you could see the bottom of this, but let's say this little bird may get energy from this insect, and then may be eaten by the snake, or maybe he eats a snake, and so forth. So we have choices. Here's a better diagram. I can show you um, where the energy flows. The arrow is where the energy flows. So we have energy from the grass going into the rabbit, energy from a shrub, a bush going into the rabbit and the squirrel and the mouse. The energy from the mouse goes into the hawk, into the fox, and into the weasel, and so forth. An energy pyramid is when an animal eats, it uses up energy. Most energy does not make it to the next organism in the food chain. So, for example, um, you have producers, lots and lots of producers in a food pyramid. It takes a lot of grass to feed a grasshopper. It takes a lot of grass to feed a lot of grasshoppers. And all of these grasshoppers would feed these little moles. And these moles would feed the hawk. So it's showing you that 1,110 and 1, that it takes, you don't consume, you don't use all of the energy from what you eat. Some of that is produced into waste. So you only really receive about 10% of the other organism's energy that you consume. Okay, so here's a diagram that you may be familiar with. As the prey population decreases, the predator population decreases. And the opposite is true. When the prey population, the bug population increases, there can be more predators, more frogs. When the prey population decreases, then the predators decrease. When there's a lot of chicken at Bojangles, then there can be a lot of people in the restaurant. When the chicken runs out, the people run out to find chicken somewhere else. That is our lesson on food chains, food webs, and how energy flows through ecosystems. Thank you for listening, everyone.